Hello and happy Monday, Mavericks, to you. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I am the founder and executive director of the OCD Gamechangers nonprofit. I am the author of Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, and I do international peer support. I'm certified here in the state of Colorado, and I do referral consultations for individuals looking for help with OCD. Hi, Jasmine. Thanks so much for being here, y'all. A couple announcements. Just wanted to let you know what this is. Monday Mavericks are just kind of a quick chat with people doing really incredible things in our community, innovative, creative, really making a difference around the world. So we like to bring people on and elevate their projects, elevate them, because the more people doing advocacy, the more people we reach and the more lives that we save. So without further ado, John Tessitore, I will have you let everybody know who you are.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Your energy is always very contagious. And it's, this is technically the third time we officially talked.
Yes.
And it's so nice to see you doing this. And it's an honor for me to be on here right now. And my name is John Tessitore, and I'm the founder and director of an organization called the JCK Foundation, which was started in honor of my best friend, John Kelly. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2011. After losing his battle to OCD and depression, and absolute heart of gold. And one of the things, like, I think it's interesting whenever I'm asked to introduce myself, I'm always like, shoot, where do I start? Like, what do I tell people? And it's interesting. It's like I always think back to this one line, and I always try to think about this whenever I talk. It's like the best way to be an advocate is by being yourself. And I was thinking about that the other day because my buddy was telling me, and I was kind of, I was in a little bit of a hole, and I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense. And I feel like, for me with the foundation, it was very interesting because it started very spur of the moment, right? Because unfortunately, so John was 24 years old. I was like his little brother. So we grew up in the same little hometown in Dobbs Ferry, New York. And I'll never forget when I found out that he found out that I had OCD. He took me under his wing, and it all started like in the 7th grade. So I'll tell a little bit of a backstory to kind of lead it. So it all started in the 7th grade for me, when I remember I just couldn't stop saying my prayers. And I'll never forget, I remember being on a family vacation out in California. Should have been the best time. And all I could think about was, oh my gosh, if I say my prayer the wrong way, my mom's going to be possessed by the devil, and this is my fault. Like, wait, what? Like, what the hell? And I remember when I initially had these thoughts, as you feel like you're the only person on earth that feels this way, especially when you first start this. This is 18 years ago now. I was 12 years old at the time. And I remember just being so confused, but I kept going and kept having to say these prayers. And I remember I didn't go to bed till like 4:30 that night. And I was like, wait, what happened? And then it happened again and again and again. And long story short, my middle school years were really tough, but especially that 7th grade year, because all I wanted to do was be happy. And all I wanted to do was fit in and hang out with my friends and just be the person I wanted to be. But I couldn't get these thoughts out of my head. And I remember trying to walk. I would go into my classroom, and my move would, because I was always very energetic, right? I knew how to hide it. I feel like, a lot of people in the OCD world, we know how to hide it well. We can have 5 different
We're good actors.
Yeah, we're amazing actors.
Mm-hmm.
You have 5 different conversations going on in your head at once. And I'll never forget, I would walk into my classroom specifically. I'd have an intrusive thought about my teacher. I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want my teacher to get hurt. I got to go outside. Oh, I think I left my pen out there. Guys, you see my pen? Like, oh, wait. You sure? And then I come back, oh my God, it's all good. And deep down, I was like, okay, I hope this worked. I hope this worked. And it was just very hard. And my mom said it best. It was very hard to watch, especially as a family member and someone who loved me, because I went from being this guy filled with energy and was on, I was acting, I was playing sports. And I went into a person that I was controlled by these thoughts. And I was alone because I got the diagnosis. And I remember getting the diagnosis actually didn't help me. It made me think, oh my God, this just means I'm crazy. That's all I could think, because, it made sense that I had this because what they were saying was how I was feeling. But again, how am I going to tell my friends? How am I going to open up to anyone in the world about this? Because if I do, they're going to look at me, at least in my head, right? I think they're going to look at me and be like, I don't want to hang out with this guy. And I'll never forget, we're at this family barbecue, and this is when it starts to change for the better. We're at this family barbecue, and me and John Kelly were always best family friends. My older brother Paul, and him were best friends. Comes up to me at this barbecue, and he goes, dude, I heard you have OCD. And I was like, wait, what? Like who told you this?
Through the grapevine?
Yeah, I'm just like shocked. He's like, dude, like it's okay. Like our parents talking. I was like, but John, why did my mom tell you this? And he goes, John, it's okay. I have OCD.
Mom betrayed you.
I know. It was so funny, but then and this is where it was magical because at the time, because John was always so friendly. So when he was saying this, it was just like it was weird feeling because I just hit me out of nowhere. But then he goes, dude, I have OCD too. I'm here to tell you, you're going to be okay. I'm going to help you get through this. And I was like, wait, you have these thoughts about the devil? And he's like, dude, all the time. And he gives me this big high five and he just starts talking to me. And it's amazing what the power of someone actually listening and wanting to be there for you and actually authentically loving you does. And it's so important because when you have that friend, all it took for me in that moment was to have someone that I could confide in, to have someone that loved me, to have someone that would do anything for me. And we became inseparable. We drive around my block until I got all my feelings out. And the amazing thing about John, and I think a lot of people with OCD, I mean, they're such incredible, empathetic, compassionate, the most loving people you'll ever meet.
With the worst thoughts on the planet.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so frustrating, right? Yeah, and anyone out there that's obviously listening, and that's why it's like it always breaks my heart, especially when I meet someone for the first time who's suffering from this, and I'm like, you are the sweetest person ever. Just like think about that. Like, it's okay. And obviously, it's a lot easier to tell someone to think that than to actually do it. But I'll never forget. He had so many issues of his own that he was fighting with, but he'd always just reach out and make sure I was doing good. And he'd always tell me, John, fight the good fight. We're going to fight the good fight. And that's what we did. And that gave me the confidence to start going to therapy. And I started doing cognitive behavioral therapy. And that was very, very big for me. And then I went through a phase where I was doing this. And I remember my big thing was I had to go up to my mom and I had to look at her 10 times in the eye and tell her she was possessed by the devil. And I remember my mom looked at me, smiled, and she goes, John, I'm here. I'm not. And I was like, yes. And it was just like, when you have that feeling, when you're able to kind of grasp onto it, it goes a long way, especially for a young guy. And my high school years were really good, but the biggest problem that I think I had, and we were talking about this a little bit when we first chatted, was instead of kind of embracing my OCD, I still suppressed it big time. And I was like, I'm just going to fight this. I'm going to prove to the world that I can live this amazing life. And that ended up harming me down the road because I had 4 really good years. 4 really, really good years from about 16 to 20, so 5 years, 16 to 21. And then I had these, long story short, I ended up, I was in college and it all came back really, really fast for me. And that same year, John actually passed away. And I'll never forget, I always share this story because I think it's important, especially for any college students out there, because this is a good segue into the work that we're doing now in schools. I'll never forget, I was studying abroad in Italy and I was on fire. I was doing amazing. I got this internship. I had a great GPA. I felt like I was helping everyone. I felt like in this great spot. And then I get back from Italy and all of a sudden, I slowly feel the OCD kind of creeping up, but I don't understand it's even OCD at the time. Right. I'm just thinking,
yeah.
And that was the most brutal part. Because I'm thinking, wait, what if I jump off this bridge? And I'm like, what? I don't want to jump off this bridge because that's what OCD does to you. It tries to convince you of the things you fear the most.
It feels so real.
Yeah, and it feels so real. So I'm sitting there just like having these thoughts. And then all of a sudden, I'll never forget, February 20th, 2011, I just get into the shower and these thoughts just completely overwhelmed me. I started thinking, what if I'm suicidal? What if everything around me is fake? And I almost start that as the day that my life changed, really. And I felt like I remember getting out of the shower and being completely isolated and just being so confused. And, the next month and a half, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I remember opening up to my mom and my dad a month and a half later. And this was always hard because, my parents are incredible. And I remember opening up to my mom, and mom was like, honey, we'll go to therapy. I told her my OCD was back. That's all I said. Of course, I'm not telling them, how deep I'm struggling, how much pain I'm honestly in. But I just tell them bare facts because I didn't want to scare them. And I didn't want my dad to think, I just didn't want to, I was embarrassed, to be very, very honest. And And I didn't even realize it was OCD. I knew that I even said the OCD is back. So I knew it was OCD, but there was so much more pain than I ever felt. And my mom goes, we'll take you to therapy. We'll figure this out. And my dad goes, John, the OCD again? I thought we handled this. I took you to therapy. And I was like, oh no. And he didn't mean it. It hurt. And he didn't mean it because he's an amazing person, but he's old school and he didn't know any better because he didn't suffer from it. And I would always tell my mom more of what was going on with that. And, that night I remember being really upset and being kind of rock bottom. And I remember looking down at the toilet seat and just thinking, how much longer can I do this for? Because, I didn't want to live.
Looking at the toilet seat?
Looking at the toilet seat.
Okay.
I looked down at this toilet seat.
Okay.
And I didn't want to die, but I didn't know how to live anymore. Right. And, and the heartbreaking part about this was, again, hiding all of this. No one would have even guessed I was suffering while I was at rock bottom. So then the next day I get the call about John. And obviously, my world's turned upside down because my first reaction was complete shock. Because all I could think of was, are you kidding me? And the worst part about this was I go from kind of fighting and living a relatively normal life for 21 years to having these 2.5 months that were just earth shattering. Because then there was anger because you're going to tell me that John Kelly, the person that would do anything for anyone, the person that would sit here and talk to you about Colorado, would talk to you about your experiences everywhere in your life, would talk to you about, he just cared so much about everyone and he would do anything for anyone. And you're going to tell me he's gone? And you're going to tell me this is how he died? My biggest fear, this is how he died? And I was then obviously with devastation and heartbreak. And I'll never forget because I'll tell the story quickly because I could talk forever, but I'll tell this as quickly as I can. So I'll never forget though, the next day, I'm in my bed and I was just so sad. And I wasn't just sad, I was scared and I'll never forget not wanting my mom to leave my bedside because I was afraid of what I might do. And I end up getting rushed to therapy, and I got really lucky because this therapist happens to be the person I still see. And he happened to be someone that my doctor knew, and he said, John, this guy I think will help you. And he tells me 2 things, and these 2 things really changed my life. And then it gets to the really good stuff. So he looks at me and he goes, John, I promise you, you're not suicidal. You're extremely anxious. And you haven't been taking care of your OCD for the past 5 years. You haven't gone to therapy. You haven't really talked about this. You're extremely anxious. And, I was starting to disassociate a bit. And I remember hearing that and I was like, wait, so there's actually a rational thing behind this? I'm not suicidal? And this weight immediately lifted off my shoulder. Because at that time, when you're feeling these thoughts, that's all you figure. You just think that this is what's going on. And you think you're losing your mind. At least I did personally. And to know that this was something I could handle gave me this really weird but beautiful feeling of hope. And then he looked at me and he goes, John, I promise you I'm going to be here. He was, and he still is. And then after that, the next couple months were obviously really, really tough. But I'll never forget, we start the softball tournament. And, because the hardest part was, it wasn't just hard for me, it was really hard for our whole community. Because this was the type of guy that knew everyone. He was a camp counselor. He was just an advocate for everyone. And so the town was really hurt by this. And a lot of people were asking, why? And of course, I knew why. I lived it, but I still couldn't really share that with people, Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, we're overlooking our park and we go and we said, let's start the softball tournament for John. Didn't matter if you were an athlete, a non-athlete, boy, girl. This is the first shirt from the first ever tournament. So I always wear this. Legends. And I'll never forget, everyone gathered at the field that day. And for the first time, we started feeling hope because we started to heal through community, right? People started opening up because our main thing was we didn't want what happened to John to happen to anyone else because the way he lived his life, all he wanted to do was help others. And we had to do whatever it took so he didn't die in vain. Yeah. We can spread that message, spread that hope for any other young man, woman, anyone suffering. Let them know that they're not alone and that they're going to be able to get through this. And they have a community of people that love them, whether these people are suffering from OCD or not. We're going to understand this together. And we're going to pick each other up. And we're going to have real conversations because we love you. And I think the most important thing about that tournament is people did start to open up and people did start having these conversations. And those conversations led to, wait, I'm not alone in this. Maybe I can go to therapy. Maybe I can do something else to help myself. And what was beautiful about that is just those connections and having people that were there really started to build. And it's amazing because everyone has a story, whether it's OCD, whether you have a friend who's suffering, whether you're just going through a tough moment, right? Everyone has a story. When you can connect at that level and get those stories out there and allow people to really feel confident and empowered in who they are, that is a game changer. I use the word game changer. I love that. Yeah, it's a game changer because when you have that confidence, it allows you to get the help that you deserve. And that's the thing. So shortly after that, what we did was, I created the documentary about John, and that again really opened up a lot of people's eyes. And I won't talk too long about it, but what we ended up doing is we ended up sharing that documentary. I was able to share my story at a bunch of colleges, and then we decided we want to make this real. We want to go into high schools and we want to create programs that really build community. And what was amazing about this is, it was started as an OCD organization, really turned more into a community building organization. And as we're in these schools, we start hearing student stories of depression, schizophrenia, whatever they're going through. And we try to let these students feel that same comfort that John provided for so many people. So, when you're talking and when you're hearing people's stories and you're in that assembly or you're in the workshop that we're doing, you feel empowered to talk about what's going on. You don't feel judged. No one's opinion is wrong here. And I think that's really important for high school kids, especially is, if someone wants to speak up, it might not be the perfect opinion, but we're all talking together, right? And we're all going to try to work through this so we can understand that everyone's story is validated. And that's why obviously we bring in the professionals just in case someone says something a little too much and triggering. But, what we always do is we try to let people know that, hey, we all have a part to play in this movement, right? And the example I love giving is, I always say to the students, it's like, just because John Tessitore, I'm diagnosed with OCD and depression, doesn't mean I can't help my best friend Sean, who is not diagnosed with mental illness, if he's going through something, right? And then vice versa. And then when you start building kind of beyond that, you start realizing, wow, we really can pick each other up. And whenever we go into a school, we do 3 workshops in one. One is what we call the building blocks of mental wellness, where we do an interactive activity where students will get up and they'll actually write on the board with other students, we'll talk to prompts about, such as what is mental viewed, how is mental health viewed in your community, why does mental health matter, et cetera. And they'll share their experiences and then they'll talk about that with everyone. And that kind of sets up the storytelling aspect where we'll show the documentary, I'll share my story, but then most importantly, we talk about how do you have a conversation? How do you start this conversation? And then we'll actually connect them to resources on campus, such as the counseling center. We'll give them a whole nice resource sheet so people can say, hey, your school's behind you here. This isn't just us coming in and telling you to do something. We're all in this together, right? And everyone heals differently. Everyone uses resources differently. And that's the important thing, is that no one feels judged and no one feels different by where they're at in life. And ideally, that gives them hope in recovery, because it's not a linear thing, but just to have that support is really important. And then we do breakout groups where we'll work with the counseling center and we'll bring in volunteer clinicians from our community, and they'll come in and we'll run these breakout groups where students just let everything out and they talk about whatever they're feeling. And, sometimes that leads to a student saying, hey, I do want to walk to the counseling center and make an appointment. Maybe I do want to have that conversation with my mom. Maybe I do want to open up a little bit more about this, or maybe, what? I'm going to keep this to myself, but at least I have the tools to know that there are people here for me when I need it. And I think that's the most important thing that we can do, is just let people know that we honestly love them and we'll do anything for them the same way John Kelly did anything for me when I was growing up. And that's essentially, in a nutshell, what we're doing and how we're trying to help the world the best way.
That's a big nutshell.
We're giving it our all, and that's what's most important. I think authenticity is very important. And when students see how much you care about them, they start caring about each other and they start caring about themselves.
Yeah. So what, now that I know that you've been going to different colleges and things like that, but now that COVID's happened, is that going to start up again in the fall, or what is that going to look like?
So that's a great question. So we've been doing virtual programs. So we did 4
virtual, good.
Which was awesome. And it's not the same as being there in person. I'll be very honest.
Mm-hmm.
We were able, so we have an amazing program designer named Emily Meeks who works with the foundation with me. And she's just awesome. And we put together an online program that, we actually do in the health classes, because it's hard to get 200 kids in an auditorium-like setting virtually. But, we actually did a virtual talk where we showed the documentary and broke out into breakout groups, which was incredible. We did it over Zoom. And, again, it worked. It's not the same as being there in person, but it worked. And we also are creating little workshops for students and for health classes to make sure that they don't feel alone, and to actually empower the students to share their stories and to come up with their own ideas. And let's spread this as much as we can. We love to try to empower these students after we leave to say, hey, now that we have some tools, like, what do you want to do? You can do something, and we want to empower you to do that. So we're going to be going back to schools in the fall if we're allowed. We're also going to be doing virtual ones as well. So it's like half and half right now. So ideally, by June 15th. Wow, it's crazy. But by July, hopefully we'll know a little bit more. And unfortunately, our tournament's going to be virtual this year, but I'll send you the links. So everyone, if they want to join, we're doing rock, paper, scissors instead of softball. So it'll be interesting.
That's amazing. So if someone wants to invite you to their college, how can they contact you?
That's a great question. And we would love to do whatever it takes to work with you. That's what it's all about. The more schools we can get into, the more hope we can provide. So you can just email me at John, JOHN, @jckfoundation.org. Or you could reach out to us on Instagram. You could reach out to us on Facebook at JCK Foundation. And also, you could always just shoot a DM. That's okay too. So whatever's easier for you, but we usually do it over email, or you could give me a call. That's fine too. And,
right.
Oh, wow! Look at that!
Boom!
Look at you're amazing. Look at that. Oh
Is that correct?
I didn't expect that. Yeah, perfect. So if you want to reach out, please, please, please. And if you need to talk to, I'm here. If you want to if you need an ear, I'm happy to help in any way I can. And I'm obviously I'm not a professional, but I'm a friend. I'm an ally. And I'll do whatever I can to help and to help connect you to the right resources. But this is my email, john@jckfoundation.org. And I'd love to hear from you. So especially, anything you need. But if you're a teacher, administrator, we would love to come to your school, because we really do believe that this program can change and hopefully save some lives. That's, we want people to be here, because there's so many creative people in this OCD world and this world in general that are making, as you've seen with what you're doing, Chrissy, there are so many people that are truly game changers that are helping each other out. And when we stand together as a community, it's pretty amazing what we can do. Even in our dark moments, it's a lot harder to give up when you have people around you that'll do anything for you.
So that's your correct website address?
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate your energy and your just passion for doing this work. We need people like you. You are incredible and amazing. And are there any final words that you want to tell anyone who's listening?
I would say just, the last thing I'll say is be nice to yourself. And I know that might sound a little cliche, might sound a little corny, but I promise you a lot, well, at least from my personal experience with OCD, sometimes we tend to beat ourselves up. And we are the most kind, empathetic, compassionate people out there. Be nice to yourself and understand that we are here for you. There's a whole community that'll do anything to listen. And, if I can't help you, I know there's other people that can. I know Chrissy can. I know Sean Shinnok can. I know there's a lot of people that I know that we all know that will do anything to listen to you. I know Molly Fishbeck is a good friend of mine too.
Yeah,
she's out
on, I think.
Yeah, she's doing amazing work too. So there's a lot of people, that are willing to help you and listen to you. And just don't be too hard on yourself. And I think last thing I'll say real briefly is try to treat yourself the same way you treat those people that you love, because we are lovers. I know that's, at least for me personally, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on sometimes, and it's a burden at times, but it's also something that we can use to uplift each other and to empower each other. So just be nice to yourself, and remember, you deserve to be happy. That's an important thing. You deserve to be happy. And once I accepted that, my life has gotten a lot better.
Good. Well, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's here. Molly just chimed in. And thank you, Jasmine, for being here. Molly, I do want you to know I am wearing your Groinal Girl necklace that you gave me. Woohoo! So exciting.
Bunch of legends on this chat. I love it.
And thank you, John, for being here. It's so good to get to know you and to walk alongside you on this advocacy journey. To all of you that tuned in today, thank you so much. Please go find out more information about John's foundation at jckfoundation.org. If you want to know more about Gamechangers, if you want to donate to our cause, go to ocdgamechangers.com. And we do not have a fireside chat this week, I don't believe. So we'll see you next week. No, 2 weeks from now for the Monday Maverick. I hope you have a wonderful week so far. And then I hope that you have a wonderful couple weeks until I see you again. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I am the founder and executive director of OCD Gamechangers. We will see you later. Oh, look, there's Sean. There's Sean. Shinnick. Sean Shinnick. I said it correctly.
Is he on right now?
All right, we're ending. Bye.
Where is he? Oh, you leave.